everybody. It is the 24th of June, 2026. And if you're here, you are probably listening to, or have just listened to, or are about to listen to the 16th book of Adrian's Undead Diary, which has been 16 years coming. And the guy that's next to me, on this side of me, I don't know what side he is on you, but this is Dan. Dan's the fella that's been doing the voice of Adrian for quite some time now, and he was gracious enough to cancel his pickleball game tonight to hang out for a little bit and talk about stuff related to audiobooks and acting and what it's like to be him on a daily basis. And mostly, we're going to make fun of each other, I imagine, because that's how all my lives wind up going. But Dan, hi.
Hi there.
It's good to have you here.
Thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
Absolutely. When when you and I first started talking back in 2018, something like that, 2019, it was a while back.
Yeah.
We were in the middle of a narrator change, which you're acutely aware of,
hmm
and you were one of the people who put in an audition that I immediately flagged as like one of the best ones. I think I got like 130 auditions for the book, and yours was one of the ones that immediately stood out. And when we were recasting it, I picked like the best 20 or so people, and we made a Facebook group, and I did recordings, and I put them all out, and I was like, all right, everybody vote for three. Vote for the three you like the best. And you were in almost everybody's top three.
Hmm.
So easy pass to round two. And then I sent out an additional request for audition to all the people who made it to round two. Said, all right, everybody pick two, or maybe it was pick three. I don't know. And again, you were in everybody's top three. And in the final rung, it was like basically you and another guy. And I was like, all right, everybody, dollars to donuts. You got to pick somebody. Who is it? And of the 30 people in the group, probably 22 picked you. So I feel like you were brought in not necessarily by my decision or my want, but by a big group of people who had been listening and supporting the series for a very very long time. Um, and I'm grateful that you jumped in and did it when you did it. And I know I have had a wonderful experience working with you. Um, so thank you. Before we go any further, I just want to say how much I appreciate everything you've done and how great it's been. And just thank you.
Yeah. Sentiments reciprocated. Yeah, you're a great. I don't want to say client. I think that word's a little sterile. Just a great guy, author, talented author to work with.
Thank
Um,
you.
yeah, it's collaboration in every sense of the word. Um, and yeah, I mean, it's just as a narrator, it's all you can ask for, pretty much. So yeah, pretty cut and dry and simple for me. I try to just do the book justice and provide my interpretation, and yeah, I think that's what it's about, really, quite simply. And as the books went on, and this one I feel the most confident about. As you get to the last one, of course, is the one that I kind of feel the most confident about. But I've recorded these books in many countries, FYI. Fun
Oh yeah.
fact.
Well, I was going to bring that up too because when you and I first connected, you were in South Korea,
Yeah.
and I was like, wait, all right, I'm going to be working with a guy that's in Asia. How is this going to work out? But you had the portable studio, and you were there, and it worked out great.
Yeah. Yeah. Studio's been a good thing. Getting the acoustics right in many locales has become part of the job. Um, the acoustics for this one are good, probably the best. Full disclosure, mom's basement, which is awesome. I have no shame. But it's actually one of those old school basements where there's those school tiles, those acoustic school
Okay.
squares
Yep. The
that
drop
were
ceilings.
installed by the previous owners in like the 80s. So, yeah, those help. Those definitely help. So, just from like a sound standpoint, this is the most satisfied I've ever been from Just how the acoustics play out. It's not too boxy. It's the best that I've experienced in terms of acoustics. So there's that. I think the last book with Otis on the cover was in Italy in a very interesting apartment. So
Oh, was that Sicily? Were you in Sicily?
Yeah.
Yeah. You sent me
Yep.
a video of that place. It looked amazing.
Yeah, where I was living was pretty crazy. I was in a small town outside of Palermo for a year, and I was recording in my second bedroom in a what used to be a wine cellar turned into an apartment. When I had a big cathedral ceiling that was built in 1891. That was cool. Yeah.
I think you sent me a video of Panama, right? You were in Panama, and they had like
Yeah.
crazy lit up buses and whatnot.
Yeah, I was there. I was in Panama. Sent that to you. We weren't even doing a title then. It was just shooting the shit. Like, this is where I'm at now.
Yeah,
And that's where I mean, because since Korea, I've been back to the States, Panama, and then Italy. That's pretty much been where I've been jumping. Yeah. And now good old Central New York studios.
more
Which
people are bitching about the audio. Son of a bitch.
Mine?
No,
Yours?
mine.
Yeah, it's quite quiet.
Let me switch.
That's much louder.
That's much louder.
All right,
but there was echo. So, all right, if anybody bitches, we'll figure it out. I'll speak with bad sign language or whatever. John, I heard you too. I was just ignoring you. Anyway, I don't know if Dan, I don't know if you can see the chat comments, but I'm putting up those comments. If I do
so
that,
I'm being echoed. I don't know if they can hear that. I can.
I can't. Anyway, much better. Okay, so anyway, getting back to the jet setting thing, I'm so envious as a father of two, who has to budget everything, and has kids in school, and has a mortgage payment. I was watching you with envy as you got to like travel the world and see things. I love my life. I'm not complaining, but it was great to live vicariously through the Dan Lewis travelogue and get like videos and emails and stuff of like, where the fuck are you now? I'm in Poland. Look at this church, bitch.
Like, what's there?
Like, it was just awesome.
Yeah.
So
yeah. If people have questions about traveling, languages, things like that. I mean, I'm a pretty like Swiss Army guy. Probably where acting and that Japanese like what you're good at, what the world needs. There's like a Venn diagram. And
Japanese.
Yeah. I do a lot of things, and acting is just a thing that comes naturally. But some time to explore other, including traveling and like. So yeah.
So speaking of acting, to make you really quite uncomfortable, you've been on TV shows.
Yeah.
And commercials, as I recall.
Yep.
What are you willing to share?
Oh, anything. Whatever. I've done. So when I graduated from the theater school to Paul, that's where I got my beat acting. In 2014, I immediately booked as like a speaking role in Chicago PD and Fire. I did two episodes. And then a KFC commercial, which aired during 2014 World Series, I think. So kind of like a offshoot of the Super Bowl commercial, I could say. And those are the main, probably the best. And then I did tours, things like that. Just a bunch of other stuff, yeah. Oh, no more echo. Although frozen. Okay, back.
Service dropped.
My sound X is coming through, I guess. So says the chat.
Turn off your sound, or turn it down, maybe.
I think when I first met, there was some setting that was originally there. That might. I don't know what I.
All right, let us know if that's better. I just changed the setting.
Yeah, still coming.
Now I can't hear you.
Gotcha.
Troubleshooting live because we're professionals. If Dan was doing this, it would be flawless because he actually knows how to do sound, but I'm controlling it on my end, so it sounds like I'm in the bathroom.
You know, there might be echo cancellation on there. You can see that on the sound here.
I did. I turned it on already.
Huh. I mean, you know, this is how it always is. Video chat. No matter how much people prepare. There. Wait. That's good.
Is that any better?
Yeah. A little bit. Came back.
All right, let's try a minute or two of this. So anywho, we get to see you on TV. How do we do that? Where do we find you?
Man, it was like season 2, episode 2 of Chicago PD. Get my cigarette, and then Chicago Fire. Episode's called 2112, which is after the brush. Then the KFC commercial probably commercial archive. Favorites bucket.
You sent it to me at one point, and I was like, "Damn, that's Dan. That's the guy."
Yeah, I was much more thin, even in the headshot you used for this. So I was more thin.
Aging calories catch us all.
I'm working. I got back from the gym and took a shower, so I'm working on it. Yeah, it hits in your.
I usually, when I get back from the kitchen, I have to take a shower.
Yeah.
Anyway, well, hopefully the audio is shaking out. Maybe it is, maybe it isn't. And we'll keep going until people get sick of it and leave us, I guess. The one thing that I wanted to do is, like with all of my lives, I try to open it up for questions. We, like, professionally as a writer for, since day one, I have always tried to be in connection with the people who read and listen, partially because it is really exciting for me to think that I might be able to talk to somebody that, wrote something that I like. So as a writer, it feels really cool and important to try and connect with the people who are interested in, connecting with me. So, carte blanche, if people have questions that they want to ask me or Dan, please just throw them into the chat. I'll put them up on the screen and we can answer them as awkwardly as possible. It can be about anything you want within reason. I don't know how, Dan's going to want to talk about what brand of underwear he's wearing. But feel free to ask whatever you want. Yeah. I mean, once people start asking questions, I like doing that. As a narrator, Dan, not as an actor, as a narrator, how many books do you think you've recorded?
Over 100. Yeah. Over 100. Lost count. And because I've stepped back into this career path as of a year ago, when I got back from Poland after Italy, it's just I'm doing more and more. So 100, and it keeps growing.
Dang. Is there a particular genre that you enjoy narrating more? Or
Yours.
Post-apocalyptic, or just?
Yeah. Well, I would say the umbrella probably sci-fi is the big umbrella. I know there's like a bunch I'm not sure how it branches out to post-apocalyptic per se. If you're going off the whole Amazon catalog, they do it. But I'm a sci-fi, and then from sci-fi, there's kind of an esoteric spiritual stuff that I like, which is yours is kind of dips into that. So yeah, I would say the umbrella. I enjoy doing this the most. It's not what I get the most.
Who are, if you don't mind sharing, who are some of the other authors in adjacent genres to the stuff that I've written that you've done work for that people might know?
It's been a long time since I've done sci-fi. There's one called Intraterrestrial from a long time ago. Audio quality is not my favorite, but it's called Intraterrestrial by Nicholas Conley. And that deals with the psyche and outer things out of this world. That's what I really actually. That was wild. Yeah.
What type of work have you done but aren't particularly excited about? I think I already know this answer, but I'm not going to out you.
I would say I like super formulated romance. Super formulated. Like
all the tropey stuff.
Yeah. I don't. There's one particular series I have to where I do 3 point of views. So there's a female and then there's 3 male characters. So we're you know how it goes. You know, 3 guys, and I have to characterize from chapter, and just from a technicality standpoint of having to put my voice into a natural personality, I don't really enjoy it. It's tough to do. Yeah.
Well, the whole concept of like bouncing around from voice to voice on a long recording, it like mystifies me because the consistency of returning to the same, accent or cadence or performance in general, when you're going from character to character, like really blows my mind. And when you're talking about a recording that's, 8, 10, 12, 14 hours long, that takes you 2 weeks of, studio time to do, and sometimes much more than that. The idea that you're able to coordinate and organize yourself, like going into it, right, is like really impressive. And then the second half of it is like you're able to go back to the same voices, performance after performance after performance. And you've been doing these characters for close to 10 years now.
Yeah.
And, it's there's obviously been some drift on some characters as you fine tune the performance or as you interpret their situation differently. But like I am just blown away by the amount of work that a quality narrator does to get all of that aspect of the performance correct. I can only imagine how difficult it is to do it. So.
Yeah, I appreciate it's honestly the way I'm an auditory guy, so I can, I've done voice impersonation since I was a kid. So I snip it out the character when they say something that gives a range of how to talk, and I put it in a character folder. And for your looking at my files right now, it's like 30 or 40 years deep. So when I lose it a little bit, I'm like, oh shit, how did they talk? And then I go and listen to it, and then I get the character. But with writing, because you're a talented writer who has fleshed out character, it's less about the do I sound this character and more about who are they, what actions play, how do they everybody else, and it's through their act. Like the transitive action used on other that make it easy. Yeah. So the writing.
I know. Probably before you started recording, I started to rethink how I was writing my dialogue, because when I first started writing, I was posting everything online, right? And that was awesome. That was wonderful. And then I transitioned to ebooks, and then I transitioned to print, and then audio became a thing, and then I started writing for audio. And there was a point where it was like, I need to write this a little bit more like a script, and not necessarily as a pure novel. And I remember kind of pivoting in my head to try and write dialogue that felt at least a little bit more legit, and I think that, like, I know, having talked to other narrators, like, how important it is to not have stilted, crappy dialogue and have it, like, not feel like something people would actually say.
Right.
Because trying to make something sound like something somebody would say when it reads like, the ingredients in a Betty Crocker cookbook, is tough. So I know I put effort into trying to make it easier. I know it doesn't always work, but I do hear that there's, the ingredients going in might make the final end product better.
Yeah. I thinking of a specific example. It's like when there's in this book when Fagin with the trebuchet, he's like fantastic. I can't explain. I don't know that. It was in your, I think it was in one of your preview videos where he's like, fantastic, fucking A. I don't know how to explain it, but it's just something that he would say, and then juxtaposed by the second part, which then Adrian pointed out line.
Yeah.
And then I was like, oh, I did
it. Yeah.
Like, oh, yeah.
Yeah, that reading was great. I also like, I like trying to give opportunities for you to bounce between moods, with people, and the play of banter. Like I naturally write that way, and my characters give each other, a rash of shit constantly. And like, I love reading stuff like that, right? So being able to, like, listen to you argue with yourself and shit on yourself in books, like, part of me just thinks that's funny as hell, that I'm making you sit in a box and, pick on yourself. But also, like, I think, like, it's a legitimate way. Like, my buddies and I were constantly giving each other hell, and, like, if I'm not making at least a little fun of you, I don't actually like you. Right? Like, if I'm being polite and behaving, it's because I'm not sure I actually dig you yet. So if I'm like, messing with you and like fucking with you, like, we're good. We're family now. So writing like that liberates that part of me. And then hearing you narrate that also is really exciting, because it's like, now I have a conspiracy person with me, like an accomplice, if you will. We're both going to jail.
Yeah, I mean, that's your love language. Well, I mean, I guess as an author, you write you put who you are into it, right? I guess.
At least a little.
At least a little. Yeah. So I can tell when I met you in person. I was like, oh, that's language. It's relate, and that's a good sign.
Well, the original story was, and I'm sure I've said this to you at some point in time, probably when we were at dinner or whatever, but when I first started writing Adrian, I was writing it via email to a buddy of mine. Mm-hmm. And it was just supposed to be fun. Like, I'm going to send my buddy who's in the Navy on a boat, a chapter a week or a chapter every couple of days of this, story I'm telling. And for funsies, the main character was me, because I wasn't planning on doing anything with it. I was just sending it to my buddy Joe. And Joe was like, nah, man, let's build a website. Let's, share it. And, like, let's see if people will come and read it. And I was like, all right, well, I'm going to change my name because I don't want it to be me. And it wasn't until, I don't know, it was right around when the website was getting like 250 daily visitors that I was like, fuck, like, I'm still writing this as if it was me. Yeah. And I need to create this character of Adrian who's, like, built on the scaffolding of me, and then make him a more interesting person. But, like, fundamentally, when Adrian is, like, talking and thinking and like interacting with people, I'm basically just saying what I would say. And when people hang out with me, they're like, "Oh God, like there's not a whole lot of difference between what you say and what he says." And no, that's because the character was originally me, and I don't know how to contain myself. But as the series has gone on, and Adrian has departed further and further from who I am as a person, and he's gone through all these other things. He talks differently now, but for a very long time, he was basically just me channeling my inner asshole, and inner self doubts and inner guilt.
Were you ever military as well?
No.
But you had there's that influence in there. Obviously, is big.
Yeah. I was talking to, who was I talking to recently about this? I had one of my patrons on Patreon gets a live chat every month, but he was an Army guy, and he asked me if I was an Army guy, and no, I'm not. But my father was the 7th of 12, and his brothers pretty much all existed through World War II and then the Korean War. So of my, I think, 6 uncles on that side of the family, literally every one of them fought in World War II or the Korean War. And, all of my uncles were military. They all talk the talk, right? And then I am the 11th of 11. And 2 of my brothers, one was in the Marines, one was in the Army. So Army talk was, military talk was always at home. And then in my small town of like, the 6 or 7 guys that I graduated high school with, that I was close friends with, all but 2 went into the military. So every time I saw them, it was just, it was no matter where I went, I was home, I was talking to people in the military. I visited relatives, I was talking about, people in the military. And when I started to write the story and I made Adrian into a character, I basically took parts of all of those people's military experiences and kind of like, poured them into the funnel that made him.
Yeah.
So I attempted to, pay homage to, family and friends by putting some of their stories into his story. And also I tried to make it as accurate as I could through what I knew and through what they could tell me and what they could explain to me. And as time went on and more people read the story, I connected with even more veterans and even more active duty people. And they were, almost universally wonderfully kind and nice. And also like, you fucked this up, but you can fix it by changing this. And every time I could make the story better by, doing one of those changes, I definitely tried to, because, why not, right? Matt Chambers here. Matt, I hung out with Matt down in Fort Worth. He's been reading forever. It's so neat. So neat to see these names. Like, these are people who, I've been talking to since, 2011 in some cases, like the same people 15, 16 years later have been sticking with the story. And like, it just blows my mind.
Yeah, that was I stepped into the role. That was actually 2021, I think, was the audition.
No, has to be older than that. Let's look. I'll look it up. I have the internet.
Got your email. Because I remember the apartment that I was in Seoul, South Korea, after a breakup. I think that's what the apartment.
So you came in, it looks like book 12.
Yeah, when people lashed out for a couple of months.
Hey, it was never going to be particularly kind. 2021, you're right.
Wow.
That's crazy.
It's been 5 years.
It's been so much longer.
Wow. But time has gone so fast. I don't know if people have experienced that in the chat or you since the 2020 events. Things have like in the world. It feels like 2 years is. It feels like 2 years is 1 year.
Well, it's the whole like Hadron Collider got turned on, and we split dimensions, and now we're all just alternate versions of ourselves.
CERN.
Right.
Yeah. So, but things have gone fast. More and more is happening. But yeah, 2021. And yes, you know what's funny? It's like the reviews from then affected me. Now I'm at the point where I've done so many titles. I'm at an age. I've done so many things in my career where I do not care. And kind of growing into a performer. And it's like whatever.
Well, I remember when you and I were like, closing the deal for you to join, and I remember saying like, you're going to get roasted. Like there's just no two ways about it. The old guy's leaving, and you're the new guy, and it doesn't matter how good you are. It doesn't matter what performance you put on. It doesn't matter how much energy you put into it. There's going to be a subset of people that are going to hate you just because there was a change.
Right.
And it does not matter, nothing matters other than the fact, for these people is that there was a change. And I remember saying very specifically to you that I hired you. You work for me, right? Like if you record something that I like, you're doing it right.
Right.
And, I don't know if that was the right thing to say to you, but it was basically like, I just want you to know that as long as I'm happy, it'll be fine. And I mean, you sent me a lot of messages about like really wanting to nail it and really wanting to do it justice and really trying to appease people and how important it felt like it was to you really struck me as, very thoughtful and very kind and very sweet and very professional. And, like I said, like I want to empower you. And any narrator I work with, I want to empower you to take the story and then interpret it into the performance that you want to do, right? And if I, as the writer, sit there, in the backseat booth directing you on every single performance and altering it or suggesting things, then it's going to be less natural for you and less spontaneously good, And I understand that there are a lot of performers that really need the direction to hone in, but when a narrator is sitting in a booth, 8 hours a day, I feel like I got to give them the ability to do things in at least a little bit in a way that they can live with. So I trust, in your process, and there's always going to be critics. And, I want to say that I don't look at my reviews, but I do. And I get nervous, like I still get nervous. For me personally, this book has made me more nervous than potentially any book I've done because I didn't expect anything out of starting writing, right? Like I expected to, get a bunch of 3 and 4 star reviews and I would, fizzle in and go back to my day job. So, I was really excited to start getting reviews, but this is the end of my baby, right? Like this is the end of the series that gave me a writing career. And if I didn't at least pretty much stick the landing, it would have felt really crappy. And also like for all those people who have stuck with me since, 2012 or whatever, I want to do an ending that gives them a sense of satisfaction, So the reviews on this have struck me as being more critical. And for you as a narrator, growing that thick skin and not caring as much is, that's a professional skill.
Yeah. I mean, first of all, this being the end of your series, was the most important thing to me, first and foremost. The reviews are kind of like whatever. You know what? I'll be maybe dirt off my shoulders. I've done enough titles recently and other where people are like performance, like really great. On Book Talk too, there's a bunch of female Gen Z girls. Oh my god! All right, I don't need any more validate. It needs to come from within. But we're like for you, we met in person at Breck at that New Hampshire, and this is important for Chris talking about his as meaning for his children. When I read the dedication and I'm reading about your children, I'm speaking. It's like that's important to me. You're hiring, but the it's important that this is a big part of your. And when you're dealing with, and I'm not saying, staff, but like this is a big part of your life, and like I need to do my best to take care of that. I wouldn't want someone to fuck up my, whatever it is, and yeah, so there's that. And then I'm also getting more aggressive in the thick skin with just my career, entrepreneurial, doing kind of like bullshit at it, where it's like I'm gonna get this right because I have an audio company now. I have another, and it's kind of just this hard line of like get it right. This preposition was wrong, and the proofing fact doesn't change the meaning. Re-record now. Every word, whisper sync, whatever. And I upset the level down quality. Yeah, but it's mostly about this is you landing. Like and I don't do give people reason to shit on them. So, but then people like for whatever reason. I've been watching sports in my life, especially in baseball. I don't know if you watch baseball.
Yep.
Yeah. So guys play their whole life. Little league, high school, college, single A, high A, triple A. The process of getting to the major leagues is so cutthroat. Then they get there. There's a big family. Their first hit, their first out, hit, and then go on social media when they have a bad game, and people say, "Fucking sucks, fucking kick his send him to triple A." And it's like it's being a professional. That's what you do. It doesn't matter. Someone will always have something to say. When I come to that baseball, it's like, well, it doesn't even matter because I'm getting paid. And I'm getting paid for a reason. right? And people pay you for your book for a reason. So that's that. And coming to terms with that professionally, because acting made me more insecure, actually, ironic. And I have my small I have friends who are hyper famous. Everyone very well as a celebrity. And there's me serving burgers in a day. So it's like I moments where I would cry in the back at my server job. Like, why haven't I made it? Well, they're super famous. And then it's like, and my like fuck that. I don't give a shit. And so I'm doing so much. Yeah, I'm good. To make a long explanation. But that makes sense.
Yeah, totally. The whole like the baseball metaphor of like, moving up through all these steps. It's like you have to prove yourself at so many levels when it comes to doing stuff like this, right? Where you got to do the little thing right, and then you got to do the mid-sized thing right, and then you got to do the bigger thing right. And then, at every stage, it's an opportunity for success, but it's also an opportunity for failure, right? And the only way to move up a rung is to have done the previous rung well, right? So, like, if you're in the end game at all, you have proven yourself time and time and time again that you deserve a shot at being there, right?
Yeah.
If you don't like me when I get there, that's personal preference, right?
Yeah.
But like that metaphor of like constantly, having to prove yourself is just so true. And like the thing about it is, you've worked in Hollywood, and I've done, a fair amount of, back deals with, getting TV options sold and stuff going into development, but not going anywhere. And, the one thing that I've learned from, talking to you and talking to other professionals and what I've learned personally is that so much of success does not hinge on whether or not what you've made or done is good, but whether or not someone like resonates with it at a moment in time that they are able to push it through to get made. Like if you don't have the right producer on your side at the right moment in time, it doesn't matter how many reviews you have, or how good you are or how great a performance you have. You just didn't have the right support at the right time. And the same thing is true in publishing. If you don't find an editor that really loves your book at the very moment in time that they can publish it, you're not going to get the publishing deal. It doesn't matter how good it is.
Yeah.
Willadine posted that she's in the middle of the book and her coworkers think that she's going through an emotional breakdown. That's tough. Oh, and as a blind person, they appreciate the narration. Yeah, I forget that like some people have to do narration.
That's a cool aspect.
I mean, not that they can't, read with Braille and whatnot, but I feel like enabling people to absorb a story like that is just really cool. So I'm glad we have the audio for you and everyone else. Speaking of the new book, I don't know how much of it you have going in the back of your memory, but is there, spoiler alert, are there any sections of the new book that like either really made you laugh or stuck with you for a reason? And you don't have to give the whole thing, but like, are there any parts that stick in your memory? I'm curious to what connects with people.
And while people are stewing on that, I appreciate Willadine listening. It's wonderful that it can be accessible and a performance. I think that's cool. It's definitely cool. like it. It's good to be successful, but also in the best way.
So what parts of the book, if any, stuck with you?
I start me and say, I like the bottle. I like the extend.
The German dude?
Yeah. And that's when I characterize them, I read it. Where he's like, we can launch this. Fine. Das ist cool.
Yeah, when I wrote that scene, I felt the balance of needing humor in these is like serious parts, or when I've been too serious for too long. Like I feel like I need to balance it out, and I have often been going to the Fagin character to get those like kind of dick jokes, fart jokes kind of humor, but I needed something different. And with the presence of siege weaponry and a German that had an enthusiastic attitude about it, I was like, oh, there's jokes here. I can run with this. Yeah. And I wrote that out, and I was like, oh, that's going to be so much fun. And I actually thought about how you were going to narrate it when I wrote that, because it was like, he could play this in so many different ways. Like the guy could be really excited. He could be really animated. He could play it deadpan. And you did a great job with it. So
yeah. I was imagining someone said they felt a laugh was happening there. Maybe because I thought that happens when I'm I tend to I'm on the verge of like laughing, showing some emotion. I'll leave it. If it doesn't, obviously take away from the manuscript. But the trebuchet, funny, I was thinking the Lord of the Ring. When Gandalf, they start launching.
Yeah.
Steps to the side, I just think the idea of a production, just the production. It's kind of like the song, bum 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 bum.
The William Tell overture or whatever.
Yeah, it's like kind of like a hand there.
Yeah, I like that. I did so much research too. It was probably like 3 or 4 days of research on different tactics that they could use for that scene. because when 2 books ago, I think it was, when they're passing that farm, and Glenn and Amara are going by it, and the trebuchets send stuff out, and they witness them. I put that in knowing that it was going to come back books later, and it was going to be an asset that I could bring to bear if it made sense to when I got to that point. And I'm glad that I did, and I'm glad that I brought it in, because it's like a funny way to, it's an old solution to new problems. And I did so much research on, like, without giving the whole situation why the trebuchets become crucial. How could characters that were facing an enormous amount of undead find a way to deal with large amounts, and large amounts efficiently? And the end result is there's really nothing. There's really just no way to do it. And I wrote myself into a corner on it, because I felt like, well, if they're not going to be able to figure out how to deal with all these undead, then I either have to hit the rewind switch, the record scratch noise, and we go back and I rewrite the whole situation, which I didn't really want to do, or I just left them in a situation where they didn't have any good answers.
Yeah.
And then just let shit go to hell. And, if you've read or listened to that part, that it is a very challenging part of the book for the characters. So yeah, the trebuchet was a big part of the story for quite a while back, and I'm glad it was fun to narrate.
That's I found the Control F part in the manuscript where he's a trebuchet Sven, and with them we can with accuracy away. That's kind of just what this guy, how the image landed, but he's kind of like that. We'd be anxious to support him. He's excited. He's like really excited. How do I explain? I don't like to take it literally a lot. I like to do what's called in the acting world opposite. One plays the opposite. If someone tried to take the trebuchets away, he'd freak out. He'd be like, no. Well, then he'd freak. But while he loves just to roll things from them. And Fagan's tremendous. That's tremendous. Fagan blurted. Fuck yeah. I like that. That's tremendous. Fuck yeah.
The impulse control.
Yeah. I like that beat split. I think when it comes to comedy, beats are like beats and rhythm. And I'm glad that other because in acting that was the comedic.
Mm-hmm.
I was Mr. Comedy. Yeah. So it all comes down to rhythm and timing, and I feel like the pacing, especially in the third person chapters, with the separation of scenes. I like those scene changes. It gave me rhythm that I was able to bounce back from. You could feel it like it was a movie. It was cinematic. So.
I find that stuff particularly challenging to write, because I think cinematically, right? Like I imagine the scenes in a very, cinematographer, director kind of mindset, like seeing them sweep in and, camera angles and, this would be on a boom kind of thing. But when I write, I find myself so hung up on like writing clever dialogue that I really have to like slow myself down and try to be more, purple prosy. A long time ago, back when I watched a lot of DVDs, before streaming became a thing, I used to watch movies with the, now I forget what it's called, but when the actors come on and they do like the audio track, right, where they narrate the movie and they talk about it behind the scenes. And I remember the Blade Trinity audio, and I remember them talking, and I forget who said it, but in that movie, two of the bad guys were played by comedians, and it was Parker Posey plays an evil vampire, and then John Michael Higgins, who's also a comedian, plays a nefarious doctor or whatever. And in the commentary track, they were talking about like some of the best villains can actually be played by people who are the best comedians.
Yeah.
Because the ability to have like the rhythm and the timing of being able to take something and make it funny is actually a very unique skill set. And a lot of what that ability to perform brings to the table transfers directly over to like being creepy and being scary and being inappropriate in a way that, unsettles people. And that stuck with me. And I don't even remember when that movie came out. It was a while ago, at least 20 years ago. But I remember hearing that in a track and thinking like, how can I put that into writing? Like, how can I make, some of my villains funnier, or like, how can I incorporate that in? So, the rhythms and the beats and the timing on humor is something that I think I'm good at. And having two kids too who don't have rhythm and timing for humor, but actually are like really funny kids, be it like trying to impart the concept of like, you get one shot at this joke, kid. Right? Because if you like wait 5 seconds too much, it's not funny anymore. And watching them like develop that timing as people is so fun, because like my littlest has like, she has savage timing now. Like she knows exactly when to drop that joke on people, and she busts people up. Like she gets people like really rolling. And I'm so proud of her. But Ryan over here said that the book felt like it had its foot on the pedal right up to the end. And I do agree with you. I needed the book to be intense to keep people invested. Like if I slowed too much or had too many pages of, musing or emotional, gravitas, then it wouldn't feel as threatening or as dangerous. Like the book, like they were in the end game, right? Like they, this is the third act, and I needed to keep the intensity moving and have less downtime. So I'm glad that it felt like that to you, because it's really what I needed to do. And another comment from Ryan: the voices for Otis and the Shadowheart were great.
Yeah, I appreciate that, because that's one of those moments where you're like insecure. You're fuck, did I like? Because the first thing that came to mind was, I don't know why. It was kind of like a weird. Like I don't know. Like, because he's an animal. We talk. It's kind of that animal talk we do to animals.
Yeah.
It's kind of like how I would talk to a cat. Like, what are you doing? Where are you going? Like. So it was kind of that. How hard. It's like this is kind of like I've done a lot. And the shadow, it kind of has to give American tribal the name. And I was like, wondered if they religion rather than little messages, more intelligent, spiritually, and elevated. There's a knowing. So shadow, yeah, I don't know. I forget her. I have it in my notes, but she knew something. He's like, yeah. So that's kind of. It's like I could have done it. Like, yeah. That's I guess that's how.
So we've been on about an hour, and I told Dan that we would probably try and wrap it up at about an hour. But before we kick off, does anybody want to fire any questions into the chat? We have a handful of people still live with us right at this second. If you want to ask any questions, I'll stick around for another minute or two and answer questions. Otherwise, I'm going to let Dan go take another shower, and I can go to bed so I can get some rest. But we'll hang out for another minute. Again, thank you. It has been a lot of fun to work with you. and I hope that we'll be able to return to the series again, which, the door is left open. And there are other projects that I have coming up that I would definitely work with you on. Matt, what's next, story-wise or new book-wise? So when I wrote the first 8 Adrian books, that was the end at Cassie. That was the end, and I took a several-year break. And then when I had enough inspiration to write what is now the Adrian's March 8 books, I returned and wrote those. And book 16 is the end of that arc, right? Adrian completes that storyline, which is why the series is going into mothballs for now. From an Adrian perspective, I need a break. I've been writing this guy more or less constantly for 16 years, and the tank's kind of empty again. And I needed a couple of year break to come back with enough energy to write the new stories. And I think we're in the same situation where I'm going to need a year or two to, clear the decks and come up with a clear and concise kind of plan for what may come next. In other words, I have the Diggory series that I need to wrap up. There's one more book in that series, which is overdue by quite some time. It got pushed back by a couple of other projects. And Diggory 4, hopefully I'll be able to write that after the book that I'm working on right now. And then I started the Undead Glitch series, which is the lit RPG books. And the first book did really well, which is very exciting. And professionally as a writer, I want to try and pivot away from post-apocalyptic stuff as much as I can at this point in my life. I've been writing in this genre since day one. And while it has paid the mortgage and fed the kids, it's also getting really hard for me to be fresh and original in it without jumping the shark. And I already feel like I'm threatening to jump the shark with Adrian. So I need to do new stuff. And as a former game developer and as a guy who's a hardcore gamer, the lit RPG genre interests me tremendously. It plays into my skill sets. And with the first book in the series that I wrote having done quite well, it makes sense to try and chase that. So that's going to be my focus moving forward. We won't do any more reemergence books because the series kind of fell flat in its face at book 5. And then I have the old YA book that I wrote, years and years and years ago, the 2 books in that series, which I really want to wrap up. But again, those didn't do that great either. I think what I might do with that whole series is pull them, because the contracts for them have all aged out, and maybe do some rewrites on them, re-record them, and probably re-release them differently because I wrote them under a pen name. And when I was a baby writer, I didn't really know what I was doing with pen names, and I don't think I executed the release very well. So if I were to go back, I think I'd just reboot the whole trilogy and do it that way. But primarily, it's going to be the lit RPG stuff, and then Diggory 4. I don't think I'll write any more in the Ravaged Skies universe. That one-off that I wrote to join the series was, one and done. Again, that was a post-apocalyptic book that I wrote that was EMP based, which has zero magic or spirituality or horror elements, so even less to play with in my mind. But that's where I'm going to move forward. Dan, what you're working on the Cinesonic project, which is giving authors a new platform to release. Are you doing any other audiobooks?
Yeah. I'm doing. I got a big series that's kind of blowing up. It's actually LGBT romance. Now, that is blowing up. And when I do that, I do romance. But that was written pretty well. So that's with a publisher called Podium Audio.
Yep,
that's in that works. I'll be recording in July. Second title of that series. I'm recording another romance series in July. And then I'm doing a dark romance, which is a straight romance. But kind of horror and like crazy crime drama. This one. And then in October, I'm doing another reverse harem. So I want to get I want to get more into sci-fi. I think what you just said about going into lit RPG and glitch in the game aspect, I think is smart. And just from an artistic standpoint, you have to reinvent as a creator. One of the hard things you can keep doing the money make pro, but the quote unquote proverbial ad count is easy. But there's something in you that's like, no, I have to reinvent. It's like another risk, yet another risk. So as a creative, you're constantly taking risks. That's the point. It's just the life. As a business owner too, and starting Senesonic, which is a creative, you just have to take the risks. There's no way. There's no way around. And I'm glad that they took off. I'm glad that the glitch. I like the concept from the art, the preview. I'm glad that gives them, I guess, hopefully feeling stability and that window.
Yeah. It's I talk about how parking Adrian for any period of time is the effective equivalent of laying myself off, right? Like saying, we don't need you anymore, you're fired. So like professionally, it's terrifying, but also like I try to explain to people, like when you work in the creative world, at least for me, if I'm not really excited about what I'm doing, it's really hard to put the correct amount of energy and intensity into it, right?
Mm-hmm.
And as a guy who's learned how to become a writer, I used to sit down every day and force myself to write. I'm gonna make 1,000 words today, even if it kills me. And on the days that I wasn't into it, those 1,000 words wound up getting deleted.
Yeah.
Because my heart wasn't in it, or I wasn't paying attention, or I just, my imagination was wandering somewhere else.
Yeah.
And what I've learned is that there are some days where I don't write at all. And instead of, writing, I work on social media or marketing, or I send emails, or I read stuff to, inspire people, or I'll draw a map for something so I have a reference. And then there are some days where I write 10,000 words. Yeah. And, when you're feeling it, you got to pursue it, and you got to take those risks, and you got to challenge yourself, and you got to find that dopamine to keep you invested in these projects that take so fucking long to complete,
Yeah.
And like acting is a little bit more, I feel, and I might be wrong, but acting is a little bit more feedback in the moment, where you're on set and there's people who are you're bouncing off of, and you're reacting to, and you're inspired by, and then there's crew nearby, and the director's telling you what, and there's script people there, and it feels like that experience would be much more social. But with writing, and I'm not a TV show writer where I'm in the writer's room and there's like 5 or 6 of us bouncing around ideas to work out a script. It's literally just me sitting at this desk 5, 6, 7 hours a day with fuck all to talk to. And I'm not going to be done with this book for 5 months. So I've got to come in every day and try to find, the motivation and the excitement to not only just get it done, but like do it well and have it, be entertaining. And if I'm not chasing that excitement and finding those things that I'm like really jazzed about, it's just not going to happen. The other thing I was going to say is, even though the main series of Adrian is going to go, on vacation for a little bit, I do still have plenty of ideas for the Tales series, which is the parallel, series that runs alongside, where, we see the background stories of some of the characters and their short stories. And, there's anthologies where people can submit stories to it. And I definitely have ideas for some novellas in there that, in Adrian's world, that I'd like to flesh out. And I have some ideas for anthologies as well, that I would like to kind of, tackle over the next couple of years, which will hopefully give people who still want to read in that universe, something to chew on. And, hopefully Dan will stick around and read those for me. I don't know. The romance stuff has got you really, tied up, but
I just whatever hires me, I kind of do at this point. But I'll get to the point where I can pick and choose. But I'll be so wrapped up in the Sonic that like I'll be hiring actors to do stuff. And but no, I'm always in this world right now. So I'm in the open sign, the narrator bandit. So yeah, I'm open for business, scaling, as they say.
Glad to hear.
But what you said is great. Yeah. I echo all that. That's good from an artistic standpoint. You have a good and just running your own business as a creative author. That's takes a lot of money. And yeah, I always think reading the book, like this guy's doing it. Like, not a lot of people follow their dreams. Kind of how they want to do what they want to do. Fuck yourself.
Yeah.
With your own word. It takes a lot of.
My eldest, right before bedtime tonight, I was telling Willow, like, oh, I gotta, I can only hang out at bedtime until 9 o'clock, and then I gotta go do a thing for work. I'm doing a live chat with Dan, the guy who narrated the book, and that'll be fun. And she was like, "Do you like what you do?" And I think I said, like, I gotta go do this thing in a tone that was like, oh, I gotta go do this thing, right? But really, I was just thinking about a lot of stuff. And do you like what you do? And I was like, I love what I do. Are you kidding me? Like, I get to make up stories for a living. Like I get to literally make stuff up, and I get to set my own schedule, and I get to hang out with really creative people, and I get to have art made to represent my stories. And I just feel, incredibly fortunate to be in the position that I'm at, because it's a combination of talent and luck and right place, right time, and surrounding yourself with people who support you either through their talent or through their support, or they're writing reviews, or they're sharing your product, or whatever. It takes a village. And I do say that I do believe that I and many of my followers are the village idiots of their respective village. But if enough of us unite, we can change the world. It might be for the worst, but change happens. Anyway, I'm going to let everybody go. I'm going to set Dan free into the wild to go narrate and create businesses. And I'm going to head to bed here. Everyone who stuck around, I appreciate you coming. And thank you for supporting me. Thank you for supporting Dan joining the AUD family 5.5 years ago, whatever it is. And, I look forward to working with Dan again in the AUD universe and some other universes too as time comes on. And
thanks to the people. Thanks to the people who came, Matt, Ryan, and Willie. Thanks everybody. Who's upstairs? Live with my mom.
Word up. All right, everybody. Have